Can you believe I didn't record that? Ugh. But yeah, that's how I feel whenever I use Engetsu. Sorry, I mean Syam. What's good, folks? It's WARFRAME here with a new WARFRAME video coming at you with the Syam. So, when this weapon came out, a lot of people were asking me, how good is this weapon? Until today, I will say it's meh. Hear me out. If we take a look at the stats, you can see this thing is a complete side grade to the Voruna Prime. It has 108 puncture and slash, so this thing won't be bleeding as much as the Voruna. That's if you were to build it for a regular light attack combo melee. But just like all the new drifter melees, this thing does have a gimmick. Its heavy attack is unique, but there is one thing where it beats Voruna Prime in. And I'm sorry if I end up ruining the Voruna Prime for you. The Syam is now the new king of WEEB sticks in WARFRAME. Yeah, that's it. Its heavy attack sends out a wave that deals heat and impact damage. It has two damage instances of its regular heavy attacks. The initial one is a wide horizontal flame wave, while the second is a narrower vertical wave. The vertical wave seems to do more damage as it's more concentrated. So yeah, this is the only Voruna that doesn't force proc slash on its regular heavy attack. You see how I said regular there? I will get to that. The energy wave has no damage fall off and has a lot of punch through. I mean, like a lot. It scales with combo multipliers and everything a normal heavy attack would. The wave unfortunately goes in one direction, forward. The projectile cannot be shot up or downwards. So remember when I said regular heavy attack? You can still achieve a force slash proc on this Voruna when you heavy attack, but only when performing a slide heavy attack. Think of it like the Tenet Grigori but reversed. For those who don't know, the Tenet Grigori's regular heavy attack is just like any other scythe, but when you perform a slide heavy, it sends out a flying disc that cuts everything in its path. Also, another tip with the special heavy attack. Be sure to keep your distance from the main target you're trying to take down, as the projectile will go right through them, and you end up dealing no damage to them. Not to mention, it will bug out if the enemy is between a doorway, as the projectile won't hit anything at all. In this loadout, I will show you builds that go well with the Syam heavy attack, and one of the frames I decided to use this with is none other than the melee buffer herself, Voruna. All thanks to her first and second ability. The first ability, when you activate Shroud of Dinar, your next melee attack will gain an increased critical damage multiplier, 100% status chance, and a guaranteed bleed proc. This bleed proc works on any melee, even if it doesn't have slash damage. However, the downside to this is that it doesn't work with AoE melees. But Syam's Heat Wave is treated as full-on AoE with this ability, but that's not a problem. The only reason I'm using the first ability is to boost the crit damage and status chance of this weapon. And the great thing about Dinar is that when she leaves Shroud, she retains the crit damage and status chance buffs for a short duration, and a successful fatal strike on an enemy will further increase the duration once more, until it runs out. And of course, this can easily be refreshed by activating the ability once again. Her second ability is the best primer in the game. When she pounces on an enemy, she can apply 5 unique random status effects, all stacking up to 10 stacks. And each cast adds on 5 additional unique status effects. Basically, she can apply 10 stacks of every status effects produced by elemental and physical damage mods. Killing the enemy afflicted will spread this effect to nearby enemies within the radius. Another amazing thing that I'll be using is her third ability, Passive. This passive grants you 100% heavy attack efficiency, meaning it still caps out at 90%, the usual. There's 2 ways to play this build, especially with Voruna. You have the AoE killing version of this build, which is very nice in survival missions, and a single target variant, mainly focused in disruption. The survival build uses Terrify, which armor strips enemies and has them run away from fear. I also have the Augment Creeping Terrify. It has you slow down the enemies, giving you enough time to set up for the heavy attack. And for the second build, this is more focused for single target burst damage to take down the demolishers in disruption using Thero Strike. You throw piercing shields in a cone shape. and stagger enemies, and strip 50% of their armor and shields. And you need to have 200% strength to fully strip. And this armor strip is permanent and doesn't get nullified by demolishers. Alright, now that you have an idea of how everything is set up, let's check out the builds. Alright, the first build will be the AoE survival build. Archon Shards are the 2 yellow shards for casting speed, saving us a slot on the build. Arcane Strike for the attack speed when we crit, increasing the DPS and faster combo buildup. Arcane Energize because Terrify is an expensive ability, especially with base efficiency. And even though I have her third ability, the cat will eventually die, and Armor Stripping paired with her second ability can wipe enemies, especially when you get an uber combo of heat, electric, and gas on one enemy, which means no health orb drops from melee kills. Enemy Radar in the aura for the consistency. Prime Sure-Footed because reminder, third ability passive. Primed Flow and Equilibrium for the energy pool and orb pickup conversion. Range with Archon Stretch and Augur Reach. This is to increase the range on Terrify and my second ability status effect Spread. And since her 2 can produce electric status effect, this can help Archon Stretch regen my energy. And before anyone asks, hey, how about Archon Flow? Yeah. And if you ask about Archon continuity, you need medical help. Strength at 168% with Umbral Intensify and Augur Secrets. This gives me the exact amount I need to get 100% armor strip on Terrify. And I'll be using the Creeping Terrify augment to slow down enemies, or else they will scatter and split up, making it harder for you to hit them with your heavy attack. And finally, Rolling Guard cleanses you of status effects and that 3 seconds of invulnerability. Moving on to the Syam build. This build will be used in both Voruna builds. Base damage with Condition Overload, crit chance with Blood Rush, paired with Gladiator Might, as that serves both as an additional crit damage and crit chance mod with its set bonus. Amalgam Organ Shatter for the crit damage and heavy attack wind-up speed. Quickening for attack speed and additional combo count chance. Faction mod to multiply our damage and damage over time. Range, and finally a heat mod. As you may have noticed, we're missing heavy attack efficiency and Weeping Wounds. That's because Voruna takes care of both of those, as her third ability passive deals with heavy attack efficiency and her first ability deals with status chance and another set of crit damage. The Disruption build is rather complicated because it uses a damage scaling mechanic that not many people know about, but I do have several videos covering that topic. And that mechanic is called Heat Inherit. To understand more, I will let the Past Nightmare explain the mechanic.
Heat is a linear scaling DOT, meaning it ramps up in damage and it is a set whole tick and not separated by individual ticks with their own timers, like bleeds. When you shoot an enemy with heat damage, it will refresh all stacks and their timers. They will continuously keep dealing damage till they all expire at the same time, unless you keep shooting to refresh them, meaning they can infinitely scale in damage. So how does Heat Inherit work? Well, it's calculated on the first stack, and the instance of heat dot procced on the enemy. It will take the current heat percentage, base damage, and bane on the current weapon you first applied on the enemy, and then you follow up with your main DPS weapon or ability with higher base damage, heat, and another bane. And the new heat instance will be combined with the previous weapon's heat and bane percentage to it. If you didn't understand this, the DPS weapon or the ability inherits the heat percentage and faction multiplier from the primer, hence the name.
So basically, take your primer with a big heat elemental damage multiplier and faction mod, apply it first on the targets. Then follow up with your main DPS weapon, which also deals heat with the same faction mod and other damage multipliers, combining the two sources of heat for a bigger damage instance. Alright, onto the Disruption build. For the Arcanes, I have Molt Augmented instead of Energized this time. This increases my strength to 60% at max stacks. In the Aura, I have Swift Momentum for the additional 6 seconds of combo and 60% heavy attack wind-up speed. It has similar mods to the previous build, but the difference now is one range mod, efficiency with Streamline, additional strength with Transient Fortitude, and to counteract the negative duration, I do have Primed Continuity. All the strength is to boost the crit damage multiplier on my first ability and also get 100% strip on Thero Strike. Now you can enjoy yourself cosplaying as Kurosaki Ishin. Alright folks, I hope you enjoyed and learned something from this video, and if you did, feel free to leave a like, share, and subscribe for more Warframe content, streams, and so much more. Do refer to the description. Thanks for watching, and as always, peace.